David.
Young man that he is.
Aaron.
I'm surprised you're still awake. You've been working all day today just on the radio, so thank you for being here this afternoon.
My pleasure. Great to be with you.
You know, we were very excited, Natasha and I, just off the top of the show today, because today we were Durochered, however you would say that.
Durocher?
Durocher, yeah, by both of
Durocher.
we were both in the column today. She was going on about what we had with Jean-François Lisée the other day. So we're in the club now, David. It's not a club I want to be in, but regardless, there you go.
Well, I mean, throughout the week when the first column came out, what both you and Natasha had the reflex of doing was to reach out to her and invite her on the show and let's establish a dialogue. Let's talk. And I remember the back and forth, and ultimately she declined. And instead of facing you two, instead of talking about this as humans would normally want to do, she preferred to, again, go back to an extreme position that is kind of her go-to. And let's face it, Sophie Durocher is not the kind of person that anybody in politics coming into work would say, hey, did you read Sophie Durocher this morning? And I'm talking about the francophone side of things.
Yeah.
So let's just position this first. But this was, in a word, cowardly. And it was a cheap shot. And if we want to talk about what you discussed about Club Med and Jean-François Lisée, I also heard Jean-François Lisée. And as a francophone, sure, I want to be served in French. But you know what has been said since the awakening of French-speaking Quebecers in the 60s and the Quiet Revolution? You know what the go-to is usually if you're not served in French? You leave. You don't buy. You know what Jean-François Lisée did? He stayed at Club Med.
Well, of course, he was in Charlevoix, so.
No, but and he was at a hotel, and it's possible. It is possible. Oh my goodness, one of the sectors in Quebec where the labor shortage is the worst.
That's fair.
Is the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
And so right now, hotels and restaurants and everybody is scrambling to find qualified personnel. So is it possible that you may, in a hotel that caters to tourists from outside Quebec primarily, may have a person that may not be able to converse in French? That is possible, especially during the holidays.
And it doesn't mean, I mean, you're reiterating what I said, which is that, okay, it's going to happen, and that maybe there should be a little bit of tolerance, a little bit of, forgiveness for people who haven't yet mastered the language.
Let's take it to the next level also, Natasha. There was a Leger poll just before the holidays explaining in detail why François Legault's government is in the dumps right now in terms of satisfaction and popularity. The fourth worst issue for his government, and this is a poll where the great majority of the respondents were francophones across Quebec, okay? The fourth worst issue for François Legault is what I call the chicane factor. It's his obsession with, namely, and this was in the Journal de Montréal about the Leger poll, it's his obsession with Bill 96, the tuition hike, the nationalist positions, and not focusing on real issues. Sophie Durocher is one of those extreme nationalists that instead of just sitting down and having a real conversation, is actually saying, okay, no, I'd rather stay in my corner and stick to my extreme position. I had Michel Rochette of the Retail Council of Canada on the show yesterday. The retail sector is the largest private employer in Quebec, okay, and we know it's struggling. I asked him at the end of the interview what his biggest issues were for his members in 2024. Number one, the labor shortage and the restrictive immigration policies of the Legault government. Two, shoplifting. We've heard a lot about that. You know what three was? The red tape caused by 96. Fourth, the fourth thing he brought up with absolutely no prompting was the tuition scandal with McGill and Concordia. This again, is a business lobby group that is dominated by francophones, headed by a francophone, and where I heard you many times in November and December talk about, is it just us Anglos worrying about this? You have a Léger poll saying, no, it's not just English-speaking Quebecers. You have business lobbies. Michel Leblanc from the Chamber of Commerce, Michel Rochette now from the Retail Council of Canada, saying this is a problem, this is hurting all of Quebec. And the lack of dialogue and the lack of just sitting down and exchanging with each other. This morning, again, did you see this in the Gazette? This Francophone hockey player, okay, that chose to go to Concordia, and she's 24 years old, a Francophone. I had her on. It was fantastic because what is she saying? Her name is Léonie Philbert, 24 years old, chose to go to Dawson, chose to go to Concordia to do her master's in mathematics, is the assistant captain of the Stingers women's hockey team. And she grew up in French, like me, Francophone parents. She grew up in Saint Bruno. And she says, you know what, there's no problem. There's no issue.
There is no problem. And that's, I think, the biggest frustration of all of this. I mean, first and foremost, Sophie Durocher misrepresented our position. We said that Lisée should be able to be served in French. But beyond that, it perpetuates this idea that there really is a conflict between Anglophone, allophones, and Francophones. There isn't. We all get along. For the most part, the vast majority of people get along.
That's wedge politics, and that's the politics of hate and division.
Yeah, and it's her saying, you know what, we just don't get it. That's basically her take at the end of the day.
Of course.
So, and that's fine.
Crybabies,
yeah, exactly.
And you play victims. And
so,
you're
you know, David, you'll
minority in Quebec.
Based on this, you'll find yourself in her column, I guess, on Monday.
You're going to get Durocher.
Well, I would be happy.
Okay.
So happy to have a discussion with Sophie Durocher and all the Québécois columnists any day, anytime.
We're still trying to get her on the show. I'll just throw that out there. We tried again today. We'll continue to try. I would like to speak with her very much so.
I want to move on before we run out of time completely. So first of all, we didn't talk about this all day today. I just think this is actually more I don't know, humorous than anything else. So forget the Rem de l'Est. There's another project that's going to go the way of the dodo. But the good news is we're going to save $20 billion, David, because the tramway that they think will be just as effective will only cost about $13 billion compared to the $36 billion for the Rem de l'Est. Good for us.
This is such another government disaster. Let's remember, when I was part of the Liberal government that developed the REM. I was the environment minister that did the approval, environmentally speaking, for the first phase of the REM. The thinking with the REM was first do the center and the west to get the airport done, connected also to Brossard and the Distram. Second phase was supposed to do the east. The reason why the Caisse de Dépôt was charged and tasked to do this is they had experience. They did SkyTrain in Vancouver, and I know you're going to make the jokes, Aaron, that it's not working well now, but still, the case had the experience to do this and did it well and did it in a business way, not in a government way, which is do it competently, do it quickly. I mean, a major infrastructure project like that was done in less than 7 years, which is amazing for a project of this size. Now, the case comes up with the Rem de l'Est. Valérie Plante stands up and says, I do not want this because of 500 meters of elevated rails on René Lévesque. The case was ready to go and do it, again, on its dime and making an investment project. Then the case, being told no by Valérie Plante, says there's no way I can do it and make money because that's what a pension fund has to do, right? They get into projects only if they can make money for the pension fund. That's why they get into infrastructure projects. So they said, okay, we're out. So a blue ribbon committee comes up and says, okay, we could do the REM the way Valérie Plante wants it, $36 billion. François Legault says, never. Now they come back with a tramway, which is slower. With Valérie Plante yesterday said, yeah, not a bad idea, but tramways are slower than the REM. She said that. So $12 billion for a project that nobody ever planned for. And we are still in a situation right now where the east of Montreal still, to this day, does not have an urban plan. So we're planning a transit system post-pandemic for an area of the largest city in Quebec, second largest city in Canada, we're planning a transit system, which nobody wants, a tramway, in an area of Montreal which still does not have an urban plan. And who is going to have to foot the bill? The taxpayers, because the Caisse de dépôt, this is not taxpayer dollars. These are pension dollars. Doesn't want to touch it because Valérie Plante squandered the chance we had to get an integrated transit system with the metro and the
would have
train.
been just too ugly, wouldn't it, for that little stretch on René Lévesque?
Because in New York and Chicago, that is so awful, right?
Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, I remember railing about this at the time. Thank you for making me sorry that I brought it up again.
This is a disaster. This is such a failure at so many levels of planning and wasting real opportunity, because at the end of the day, real hardworking Montrealers still don't have a way to get around in the east side of Montreal.
Flying cars, my friend. Flying cars. It's only a matter of time. David Heurtel, who's in, by the way, all next week as well for
keeping him
Elias
busy.
Mackos. David, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Bon weekend, mes amis.